Alright, today we're going to be covering the basic disassembly and reassembly of an AR-15 style rifle. First things first, we're going to verify it's unloaded. Nothing in the mag well, nothing in the chamber. Next, we're going to send the bolt home and then start with our takedown pins, both the forward and rear takedown pin, which separate the upper receiver from the lower receiver. Alright, some of these can be very stiff, especially with a newer rifle like this one. So sometimes it'll be a little bit easier to use a tool like a punch pin. You can also use a pen or a tip of a 5.56 round, just depends what you have laying around. Right, I am on a tabletop camera here, so it may take me a little bit to get the angle so you guys can see this. I'm going to push this pin out. I'm also pulling on the other end, which I'll show you in a second. Alright, and then we're going to work on the forward takedown pin. Doing the same thing, pulling it out from the other side of the rifle, which I'll show you. Alright, so what I was doing on the other side here, I push from the front side and then I pull these off from the other. Sometimes it's easier to do that, especially with a stiffer rifle, like I said. All right, these retain on themselves. They don't pull out completely, so don't try to yank them out. It separates the upper receiver from the lower receiver. We're gonna put the upper receiver off to the side just for a second. Focus on the lower receiver. For your basic disassembly, you don't need to go any further besides taking out the buffer spring and buffer tube. The buffer spring and buffer itself. So from here, there's a little detent pin, which I'll try to get in the camera here. This is what's holding in the buffer spring. So you can use a tool or you can just use your thumb, push against this little detent, and the buffer spring pop right out. Okay, I don't need to take anything further from the lower receiver out from this. All right, you can clean it at your own leisure, but this is just for basic disassembly and reassembly. Put that off to the side. The buffer spring and buffer do separate. All right, so you can just pull on the top, take apart, go back together just like that. All right, put that off to the side. Now we're going to focus on the upper receiver. All right, first things first, grab the charging handle, pull that out. It's going to bring both the charging handle and the bolt carrier group with you. Okay, slide that out. All right, that's all I need out of the upper receiver for this part. Put that off to the side. Charging handle, bolt carrier group. All right, this is like the lifeblood of your rifle right here, okay? When I said bring a punch pin, a tip of 5.56 round or something with a tip, it's for this little retaining pin in here. Sometimes it's a little bit stiffer to do by hand, so I'm gonna use it with a pin here, okay? So this is the full length, this is the bolt carrier group. I'll talk you through the different parts as we break it apart. All right, so first things first, we're gonna take apart this is called the retaining pin or the firing pin retaining pin, also known as a cotter pin. Just pops out like this. Don't lose this guy. They're like 10 cents, but they tend to walk away. So I'll put this somewhere in a light background so you can see it. Tip the bolt carrier group over. So now you can just let the firing pin drop out. Put that off to the side. Next thing we're going to take out is going to be the cam pin. Okay, this piece right here. You guys can see that. Okay, cam's up and forward. So I'm going to rotate this thing 90 degrees so it's flat. And I'm just going to pull that out. Okay, that's the cam pin. And now I'm going to grab the bolt, which is the tip of the bolt carrier group, and pull it straight out. All right, that is your basic disassembly, right? You can go further and actually take down the extractor, which on your bolt is right here. All you got to do is pop out this pin, which you can do with your firing pin or punch, and it'll pop out the extractor. You don't need to do that all the time. It's kind of when you're doing your deep cleaning, but for today, again, if you need to do that, just punch that out. If not, this is as far as you need to go, okay? Putting it all back together, just put it in the reverse order, right? So take your bolt. Some guys mess this part up. Think about it, when you look from the front, the extractor is only on one side, if you guys can see that. All right, so when you insert this into your bolt carrier group, remember when this is facing downrange, right, your rounds extract to the right, so I wanna make sure that my extractor is on the right side here. On the inside, if you guys can see this, let me put this in so you guys can see. Let's see if I can find my camera angle here. I see right here, there's a hole, right? When it's lined up correctly, that's where the cam pin's gonna go. As you guys can see right now, it's correct with where the extractor is, up and to the right. If I flip this over and turn the extractor in the wrong portion or the wrong side here, you'll still see that hole, right? If I try to put the cam pin in that hole, it's not gonna go, right? It's actually sized a little bit differently just for that reason. So I'm gonna rotate this to make sure the extractor is in the right position, which is on the right side where your rounds would extract from. And then I'm gonna put the cam pin right back in, okay? Take the cam pin, slide it in there, turn it 90 degrees. The reason you're turning it 90 degrees is because there's a little hole in this cam pin, and you gotta make room for the firing pin. So you turning it is allowing the firing pin to go through. Okay, turn. Pull the bolt forward. It's gonna be retained by that cam pin. Take your firing pin, just drop this thing tip forward, right inside your bolt carrier group. Let it seat all the way forward. Okay, last step is gonna be your retaining pin. Sometimes this is a little bit stiff to put in. All right, so you might have to pull it out a couple times here. Insert, like right now it's just stiff, right? If you try to whack this thing in here, it's not gonna work, right? So simply just take it out, pinch the legs again, try to rotate a little bit, and it'll go right in. Okay, don't force it in. All right, test it, make sure bolt is seated, right? Goes back and forth and does not pop out. Firing pin doesn't come out, you're good to go. All right, moving on from there. I find it easier just to flip the rifle over. Start with your charging handle. All right, see the little teeth on there? Need more hands. These little guys. If I try to just force this thing in forward, it's gonna get blocked. So if you guys can see, there's these little cutouts down here that slide in. All right, easy way to do it is push this all the way through, put pressure down, and draw it back, and it'll drop right into that slot. Okay. Take your bolt carrier group. All right. Make sure the bolt is all the way forward. Flip it over, and this little gas key right here on top is going to be in line with your charging handle. All right. Push it straight in. It'll click. Grab your low receiver, spring side in first, all the way in, and that detent will do its job. You can test it. Mate the upper receiver to lower receiver one more time. You're gonna put the takedown pins in, so I'm gonna grab this a little bit, a little hard to do on camera. Okay, push the takedown pins in, which all I was doing there, if you guys can see. I was pushing these pins right back in, make sure they're seated. All right, you can function test it, safe direction, make sure your safety manipulates, make sure it resets. You're good to go. Any questions, let me know.